Welcome to the Imagine What's Possible podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Webb, Director of Enrollment Management and Financial Aid at Flint School, with over 20 years of experience fielding parents' most important questions about education, student potential, and the path to fulfilling experience for the entire family. In each episode of Imagine What's Possible, we talk to experts here at Flint Hill who share their knowledge and practical insights on what you can be doing right now to actively support your child's educational journey. Today, we're diving into the wonderful, chaotic, and transformative world of middle school. It's a unique bridge where little kid logic meets big kid stakes. And frankly, it can be just as much of a transition for the parents as it is for the students. Today's guest, Director of the Middle School, Brian Lamont, will help us explore how to navigate these in-between years without losing our minds or our connection with our kids. Brian, welcome to the podcast.
All right, thanks, Jennifer.
Please start by telling us about yourself.
All right, well, I'm Brian Lamont. As you said, I'm Director of the Middle School currently, and I've been an educator primarily in the middle and upper schools for over 30 years. Started my career as a math teacher, have coached various sports, and have been an administrator in both the upper and middle schools. Also a parent to three, not current, but former middle school students. And so I understand and can appreciate the journey for parents. And I will say that my roles as an administrator in middle school, I think is far easier than parents' roles with their middle school children.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing all that. You're definitely known on campus as the middle school expert by many. And so diving into that, middle schoolers often want to be independent, yet they're not always ready to manage everything that comes with it. What advice would you give parents for supporting that independence while still providing the right amount of structure and guidance?
Yeah, sure. And this is an ongoing challenge and kind of a daily one as well. And I would even change at some point. Not only do they crave and want that independence, they actually need it. They are wired for it, and they're definitely trying to find ways to try on that independence. They need to individuate from their parents during this time, and as you noted, they're not all ready for it in the same ways, and there are going to be lots of stumbles with that, and it can be tricky. I guess one thing I would recommend to parents is that this is just the next step in this process, right? It's not an all of a sudden they're in middle school and everything changes in a very dramatic way, right? Parents have been doing this since your kids were young. You're trying to figure out where to let them do things for themselves and where to step in, how to give them room for those controlled choices, right? Those areas that, whether learning how to tie their shoes and, you determining, well, I'm okay if their shoe ends up being untied after 2 minutes, or they want to dress themselves and they're really adamant about it, and I want to do it myself. And I mean, we've all had that with our own kids when they're younger, and figuring out how to give them room for choice while still providing structure. So, back then it might have looked like, well, okay, you have to wear a shirt, you have to wear pants, you have to wear shoes, and then within that, you can have some agency and choice within that, as long as you as a parent can be okay with what their choices are. So at the middle school level and at this level with young adolescents, it's really figuring out where can you give them ownership, where can you step back and let them go, and understanding it's not an all or nothing. So they crave and need that independence and responsibility, but they also crave structure and those guidelines. So as one example, when we talk about just structuring things as homework and managing homework expectations and different classes changes in middle school, things we recommend to parents are when it's not that you're completely hands off and just kids go to their room and do their homework, but we actually encourage you to create certain structures like having a designated homework time, having a place in the house where they should do their homework, generally sort of common areas and more central rooms are better than bedrooms with doors closed. Mm-hmm. Checking in with them at the start of the homework time and looking at assignments together and talking about what is their plan, understanding that you're not going to micromanage that plan, but you're going to just check in. We're giving you this structure. What do you plan to get done? What order are you going to do these things in? And then having the parent leave and allow the child to engage with the work sort of on their own. And then checking in at the end of the homework time to not only enforce that structure of that timing so it doesn't go on all night, but also taking that opportunity to say, okay, which parts didn't you finish? And then directing them to, okay, if you didn't finish, let's have you go ahead and contact that teacher, and you're going to come and see them tomorrow if you got stuck on something.
And just as parents are doing that and navigating that at home, here at Flint Hill, could you talk a little bit how within our program, whether students are coming from our lower school here or from another lower school, what is the biggest shift that we have in terms of responsibilities for them to experience, and how do we help them rise to the occasion for that?
Yeah, sure. Overall, it's the same approach as parents. Like we're all trying to do the same thing. So at school, among the things we're really focused on is ensuring that students understand that it's about them, that their progress is theirs. We want them to feel like their educational journey is their own, and they are the key person who's involved with that. And among the ways we do that is to funnel our communication through them. And we're talking about homework assignments. We're not reaching out to parents until something becomes a problem, but we're directing, if we're emailing students directly because something did or didn't happen during class, or we want to talk about how they're doing and what they can do. We use a lot of coaching language to try to make it not about what the parent's role is and not about what the teacher's role is, but what are you going to do? What can you do differently here to change your progress? Some of that is trying to foster sort of that internal locus of control, where they're understanding areas where they actually have control over not everything, but lots of the things that they aren't at the mercy of life happening to them. That they have control and they have agency in how things go for them. We want to really emphasize a growth mindset with our kids at these levels, that they can learn anything, that their intelligence and their skills are not fixed, that they by putting in the work, by putting in the effort, by using thoughtful work habits and trying and practicing, they can continue to improve. So we use a lot of that kind of language with them. We do a lot of reflection with them, both in class and sort of with end of quarter surveys. And we ask them to reflect on whether it's a analysis of a project. What did you do well here? What are you proud of? What things would you like to do differently next time, and how are you going to do that? And so we really try to use a lot of that coaching language with them, which again puts them in the center and reinforces that they are in an active role of how things go for them and their progress, and that it is a process, and that we're not seeking, it's not about what was your grade on this and what was the outcome here, but how did you engage with it? What are you happy with? What do you think you could do better next time? And how are you going to do that?
And then combining the first two questions that we just discussed a little bit, and in terms of parent partnership with the school, we talk about partnership a lot here at Flint Hill. And you talked about sending the students emails themselves. They have their own grade books, their way to check in on the assignments. What do you tell parents in terms of, should they also be checking that email account? Should they be checking into that grade book? Should they stay back until they do get that phone call or email from you or the teacher saying that something's a little bit off track? What do you recommend there?
Some of it depends on the kid. I think while they are going through, kind of back to the first question of what's the balance of structure versus independence. So I think it's never all or nothing. So there is some of each, and so I think some of that depends on what the child has shown so far. So we generally encourage parents to, on a regular basis, maybe it's weekly, open the grade book and see what's in there, see if there's any missing work. I think doing that with your child is something that can be helpful, and so that you can engage in a conversation with it, because it's not about And it's never about what were the particular grades, but tell me about how things are going here. It looks like this assignment is marked as incomplete. What does that mean? And how are what are you doing with that? Or looks like you didn't do as well as you would hope to on this last essay. What are you doing? How are you planning to do something differently? Or have you checked in with the teacher? Did you read the rubric and their feedback to think about how that can inform your next step? So I think parents having, some structures where we do have oversight, we do have some safety nets, and at this level, nothing's going to fall too far. So it shouldn't be completely hands off, but it should be having some guidelines, but also keeping the child at the center of that conversation, ensuring that we don't take away their role in the whole process.
And similarly, we talk about a productive struggle here. And productive struggle can, a lot of times here we're talking about it academically. It can be academic, it can be social. It's healthy for growth and development. And it's healthy for kids to sit in it for a bit and navigate it themselves. Do you have tips for parents to really know when it's time they see their kids struggling? When do you just let them struggle? It's productive, it's part of growth, versus when an adult really should intervene and help?
Yeah, I think there's no clear answer on that. I think keeping that perspective in mind, again, it's not all or nothing. It's not kids are absolutely on their own. And it's not that we're swooping in and taking over for them. I think it's overall, it's really important to give students opportunities to struggle and see if they can figure something out, see if they can work through it on their own. A lot of which is good for them just in learning that they are capable. But I think maybe even more so is that action parents convey to them that we believe you are capable of that. We believe you're capable of doing hard things, right? So that's it's a big part of what we want to kind of instill and inspire and foster in our kids. And for parents, keeping in mind that partnership. So it's while I think it's going to be different in different circumstances. I think I gave the example of homework time limits earlier. So having your child kind of grapple with some difficult math problems that they're working on without parents stepping in and taking over for them is really important. And if it's been 2 hours and they've been working on this and they're crying and it's really time for bed, that's where we need the parent to step in and say, all right, well, you've spent too much time on this and we're going to stop now. And then it goes to the next coaching phase, which is, okay, let's draft an email to your teacher about how you got stuck on this and try to help guide them with that. And I think similarly with social pieces and all the other aspects, trying to, again, give children room to grapple with what is their role and not take it from them. I think another thing I would recommend to parents is to use the teachers in the school as a resource. So there are lots of ways, and I have lots of conversations with parents on sort of the back channel part of it. Like my kid got stuck on this, or my kid is having trouble with a friendship group, and I directed them to go talk to the counselor, but I'm not sure if I should be getting involved here. Should I talk to the counselor? And so we'll have a lot of those conversations. And again, there's no one right answer, and it's not a blanket response. So many times I'm encouraging the parents to reach out directly to the teacher. So it's, if the child is struggling or feels like they, I guess I'll go back to the social piece. If we may reach out to the counselor or ask the child to go and check in with our counselor, Mr. Magner, but also encourage the parent to send an email to John Magner and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is what we're hearing. If there's a role we can play as parents here, but I wanted you to, because oftentimes we also know that students aren't going to convey the facts and the specifics or their own role in the drama always in accurate ways. So I think it's really helpful for parents to kind of consult and back channel check on things, or I asked my child to come see you or suggested they did. Can you just confirm that they did, and what did you talk about, and how can I help with this? So Some of it is sort of from a behind the scenes standpoint, is being able to check while not invalidating your child's independent effort.
And parents here and people that work here will sometimes hear you say, presume positive intent. Can you talk about what that looks like and what that means?
Sure. All of this is really hard with young adolescents, and I think I mentioned earlier. I think parents in the school are trying to do the same things, and we're trying to engage in really difficult work so that kids get what they need and they can develop in all the right ways. I think I'll start with, when we presume positive intent, I think in terms of trust building and ensuring we're all on the same team, I think it's really important to have the mindset and approach that everybody is trying to do the right thing and we're not always going to get it right. But I would say that starts with students. And so among the things we talk about with our teachers and staff is to presume positive intent with our kids, because they are at times really, really maddening and really frustrating, and they do ridiculous things, and they go one step forward and two steps back at times. And I think keeping in mind that, hey, they are humans at an absurd period of life with so much going on in their brains and bodies that they don't always know why they're doing things, and they're testing limits and trying to do things for themselves and all the things we talked about, and they're going to be really clunky about it. But really staying grounded in that these are kids. Ultimately, they want to be successful. They want to do the right thing. They want to grow, and so we should always keep that in mind. In terms of the parent thing, I think, we always talk about partnership between school and home. I think that's important no matter how old your kids are. I think at the middle school level, it is essential. Like, I think it is, we can't do the work we need to do at school with kids without the parent support and having that insight of parents and understanding parents are trying to do the right thing, and it's messy and it's really hard, and kids put pressure on us because there are so many highs and lows on a daily basis. And I think it's really helpful, I find, with that partnership if parents can also have that assumption that we're all trying to do the right things also for kids. I think we should be kind of aware of our own blind spots with that. I think schools can get prone to being over controlling and overly, enforce rigid policies and things if we're not careful about thinking about, hey, these are kids, they're on a journey, and we have to, understand that and guide them according to that. And any parent, including me as a parent, can be prone to believing that anything my kid says is gospel and thinking in absolutes, like, well, they are an honest kid, so they will always be honest, which is, I'm sorry, is not going to be the case. I've got 3 great kids who are honest humans. They have all lied to me. I have middle school kids lie to me every day. Like, it's not so again, I think recognizing your own, and I believe every parent can be irrational about their own special person, and that's normal, and we do get that. Parents can also recognize that in themselves. I've certainly caught myself in those moments as parents, and I'm sure many other times didn't catch it.
Mm-hmm. And whenever I talk with current parents here at Flint Hill who either have a kid in the middle school or have had a kid go through the middle school, almost every time you come up and how well you really get adolescence and the middle school years is often part of that conversation. And so we're really appreciative of you being here today as that expert. And for one of the last things to touch on, what's one truth about early adolescence that you wish every parent of a middle schooler understood?
Wow, that is tough. I will say, I guess my answer, I don't know if it's an absolute truth, but I think the most helpful mindset is, and I say this a lot to parents as well, and staff, just that this is a low stakes training ground. So we talk about that with our team and how we structure our program. And I think it's helpful as a parent also that this is for lack of a better term, practice. And so that kind of informs how I calibrate my responses to the ridiculous highs and lows and ups and downs of behavior and emotional things and so on that we see from kids. And saying practice doesn't mean it doesn't count. It doesn't mean that it's actually harder. It's not easier because it's kind of low stakes and it's training and it's practice. It's just it's so imperfect. Their adolescents are going to be imperfect, and the real growth is in those stumbles. And so, realizing that if you think from whether it's a classroom teacher or an athletic coach, when you're thinking things about practice and training time versus game time, it's not that there are fewer decisions to make. It's actually there's more thought and planning going in. It means as parents and as educators, we have to really kind of structure things and think about our responses and all the things that go into structuring those opportunities for adolescents, ensuring that there are safety nets, ensuring that and focusing on feedback for them so that they can continue improving. I find that thinking about it in those terms, about training and about practice, kind of ensures that I and we can keep the focus on the student, can keep the focus on the kind of long game on that, on their progress, and not get so fixated on the ups and downs of you got this grade and then got that grade, and that was a step back, or that means you succeeded or failed. And I think that's really hard to do, is to roll with the ups and downs and stay the course as well as possible. We aren't going to do it perfectly. There are times we get, as we get frustrated with what we're seeing from kids and parents, it can be hard to, keeping that coaching language of what do you think? And I still have my 26-year-old still, I think back to when she was 13 and in 8th grade and had dug an academic hole. And I was really struggling, was trying to channel my administrator self and talking to her about, okay, well, what is your plan to make a change here? And her just yelling at me, I don't want to talk about my plan anymore, Dad. But as much as that wasn't a great moment for us, I do think kind of staying the course in those moments and keeping the focus, trying to absorb the emotional ups and downs of that time and just realize this is an incredibly important period of life where there's so much rapid change, so many opportunities for us and for them. And if we just at school and at home play our roles as well as possible, kids are going to really make great gains during that time, and we'll set them up to move out of the house by the time that they're 30.
It sounds like a wonderful goal.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for sharing your expertise here with us today and being on the podcast. And thank you for the expertise you bring to Flint Hill every day. We really appreciate you.
All right. Thanks for having me.